devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. The devil is back again, now I know I'll never look back again. The devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. The devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. Back again.
Oh, devil, I'm back for a while. Till I pick up the phone, look for your number and dial. Oh, devil, I'm in my own hell. And deep inside, I'm sure I got it all by myself. Someone's calling for me. Something's calling for me again.
Devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. The devil is back again, now I know I'll never look back again. Devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. Devil is back again, so I know I'll never look back again. Back again.
Oh, I know, same old thing, same old show. Oh, I know, same old thing, some show control. Oh, I know, same old thing, same old show. Oh, I know, same old thing, some show control.
Biddy biddy bang bang, biddy bang bang, biddy bang bang, biddy man. Bang bang, biddy bang bang, biddy bang bang, biddy man. Biddy man, I'm a coin, get a man, get a man. Hey. Early Sunday morning, it was a big ganja smuggling. Hey. Inna the mud, me a pick and labor, and me a load them down in a the tub. Hey. One by one, load up the van. All of the ganja it ram. Put it on a plane, go we gonna Spain. Money just a pour like rain. Me just a muggle up the lane in a rope gold chain. Hey, me and me girl named Jane. Bang get it men den. Better a coin, better men den get a your coin. Dang did it dang get it men den, get a men den, get a men den, get a men den, get a men den. Down there in the ghetto I go, where sufferation I once know. Mommy and daddy all are we so poor, we all had to sleep on the floor. Storm it come and it blow down me door, me half we nail up me window. Me shoes tear up, me toe dust a show, me no know where fi really run go. Mommy does a ball, poor, me cry, she say, son cry no more. Dang, diddy dang, get him in, den, better a mo coins, then I'm in, get a coin. Dang, diddy dang, get a men, den, better a coin, get a men, get a coin, get a men. Early Sunday morning, it was a big ganja smuggling. Inna the mud, me a pick and labor, and me a load them down in a tub. One by one, load up the van, all of the ganja it ram. Put it on the plane, going gonna no Spain. Money just a pour like rain. Me just a muggle up the lane in a gold rope chain. Hey, me and me girl named Jane. Dang dang diddy bang gang, giddy bang gang, giddy men, me na go coin, spend then get a man. Bang gang, giddy bang gang, giddy bang gang, giddy men, me na go coin, gang, get a man. Down there in the ghetto I go, where tribulation I once know. Mommy and daddy, all are we so poor. We all had to sleep on the floor. Hey. Time it come and it blow down me door. Me happy nail up me window. Me shoes tear up, me toe dust a show. Me no know how if he really run go. Mama tell me in a rap broke store. Police beat you, make your back sore. Hey. Dang dang diddy dang dang, giddy bang gang, giddy men, better boy, bede beden, ay. Bede hoy, bena get a coin, bede him, ay. Bellem, ay, bellem,
Good morning, Sun Prairie. The time is 7:02. 61 degrees outside. It's gray. It's gray AF. It's graph. Graph.
That's wonderful. What a wonderful
Yes.
June 21st.
That is correct. And gonna be some rain in the forecast today, so make sure you bring your galoshes out there.
Sure. Slickers,
Slickers.
Ponchos?
Slickers, knickers.
ponchos.
Ponchos. Poncho Villas.
Sure. No one cares about the weather.
Don't they?
Everyone sits inside watching TV anyways.
Well, today is a great day to
To watch.
sit inside and watch TV because the NBA draft is tonight. I got my Bucks shirt on. I'm ready to
Ooh.
root hard for a college player I've probably never seen before.
With
but
the
I know,
19th pick.
yeah, who's high on athleticism.
Yeah, he's springy.
You know, he jumps
got-
out of the gym.
Ooh, yes.
You know, real
Verticality.
gym rat. Verticality.
Yeah.
High upside. High on
Oh.
upside. You
Yeah.
know, he's maybe not super tall, but he's got athleticism and he is rangy. He's a rangy prospect,
I like all
Right?
of that. Yeah.
right? He's got length,
Yeah.
strength, and length.
Yeah. He's athletic.
He's athletic.
Yeah.
You know, a high character guy. He's a high character guy.
Yeah.
You
He's
know,
first to the gym,
last one to leave.
last one to leave. But that's exactly what you want,
High basketball IQ.
for sure.
You know,
Indeed.
which is huge.
You gotta have a command of the floor.
Oh,
When you're out there.
you know, he really sees the floor well. He's an underrated passer.
Ooh, underrated.
Underrated passer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He needs to develop his shooting skills,
But that can be taught.
but that can be taught. You know,
You look at
he's
a
got a
guy-
great form on
Yeah.
his jump shot. He just doesn't, you know, get the results.
Yeah.
But a shooting coach will.
A shooting coach should. You get him in the gym, and they work with this clay, and they'll mold him into a 40% 3-point shooter, which is what you need from today's wings.
That's right.
You need a wing who can 3-and-D, as they say.
3-and-D, huge in the game right now. Stretch fours.
Oh,
Lots of
yeah.
stretch fours.
Stretch fives.
The guys who were tweeners 10 years ago are now stretch fours.
Yeah, that's right. In all seriousness, your team's going to draft somebody who sucks.
Why do you say that?
Because they have the whatever it is,
17th.
the 17th pick.
And you know who the last two players they got at the 17th pick?
Two guys that no one knows about.
DJ Wilson, who they got last year, and then Rashard Vaughn, who was traded during the season and then
Ooh.
dropped 2 weeks later, and then signed a 10-day contract and didn't get renewed by the Orlando Magic by the general manager who originally drafted him, John Hammond,
Yeah.
formerly of the Milwaukee Bucks.
So the Bucks will choose a guy that will essentially not play after the next 2 years. That's going to be the destiny of this pick tonight. But the reason the NBA draft is exciting is because fortunes turn on the NBA draft. If you drafted Donovan Mitchell with the 13th pick,
He's the one that everyone's talking about.
or if you draft Giannis or
Yeah.
Paul George or someone outside of the top 10 who everyone's like, yeah, he might be great. He was great in college, or he's a lengthy, insert platitudes here. And he becomes a superstar, then your team will forever be changed, because the worst thing you can be in the NBA is a team that is between the 10th and the 4th seed, who has no chance of winning either the lottery or the NBA championship. You're in NBA purgatory. You are a team that will undoubtedly win between 29 and 45 games, and your fans will be listless.
Who do you see as that right now? Who can you say is already right now at that level where it's like you need to tear it down?
Okay,
Even-
Washington.
Okay, that's a great one.
Washington should blow it up. Toronto, even though they were the number 1 seed, should blow it up.
I agree. You cannot win an NBA championship with either of those two teams. However, I'll say this. If LeBron goes to the West, you do increase your odds that much. However, with the Sixers, Bucks, and especially the Celtics, it's going to be very hard to get, who's going to be the 4th seed behind those 3 teams, I guess, would be. And why push for that right now when you need to basically, you have to pull in another superstar. That superstar likely doesn't exist yet, or
Right.
is maybe even on, is probably in high school right now, who you're not going to get for a few years, and you're going to have to do quite a bit to bring that future player in. But the way the Wizards are constructed, the way the Raptors are constructed, there's just no way.
There's no chance.
You can't, unfortunately, you try these you have 1 or 2 superstars, then another few really good players. You have to have a top-level superstar. It's the only way. It's the only way to win an NBA championship. The Detroit Pistons, once again, are the only team but they had a bunch of very good players.
Yeah, they did. And they also caught the league at the right moment. It's like you need help from everyone else if you're not going to have one of the transcendent superstars of your era. And they got lucky because the Lakers were on their 4th championship, or attempting to win their 4th championship, and they were just burned out.
Do you think they were lucky? I think they were old and they hated each other. And
Who, the Lakers?
Yes.
Yes, that's true. But what I'm saying is they got lucky because the Lakers had won 3 championships and had all that fatigue, and they were like, let's bring in the mailman and the glove. We need a mailman and a glove.
That's right.
And
Those
and
are 2
that-
things they were missing when the Spurs won it against the Nets in 2003.
Yeah, and so they needed those things, and turns out that didn't work out for them, to bring in 2 old veterans who didn't really, probably work well in the locker room. But anyways, tonight you have the possibility, if you are one of those cellar dwellers like my team, you can pick a player who could be as good as the 10th player or the 5th player in the league. And so that's why the draft is exciting. Because if you're my Chicago Bulls and you have
The 7th and the 22nd?
7th and the 22nd, and you have 0 players on your roster other than Lowry, the finisher, Markkanen.
The finisher. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
Explain to our audience why that is so great, because I love that.
Well, because he is from Finland,
Yeah.
and he puts the ball in the hoop. So it's a logical nickname.
No, he similar to the Porzingis thing, not quite the freakish body type, but a guy who you thought would be drafted way too high, basically like a European white dude who's tall and can shoot, that you're upset your team takes him, but then you realize a few games in you're like, oh, we might have stumbled upon something here. So you got to hope that something similar is in the cards for the Bulls this year. But the 7th spot's kind of that's an interesting spot, I think, this year.
So there's like a consensus top 6 for the most part. You have Ayton, who is rumored to go to the Suns. He right now is you'd have to bet $25 to win $1. So he's a giant favorite to go number 1 overall. And then you have Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson,
Yep.
Marvin Bagley,
Jr.
Trae Young,
Yep.
Mo Bamba,
Okay.
and Michael Porter.
Jr.
And those are the guys who are rumored to go.
Yes.
So my team is potentially looking at Wendell Carter. And I hate the idea of taking a guy from Duke who was not the best player on Duke. It just sounds like, let's draft Luol Deng.
Luke Kennard.
It just, whatever. I don't know. It makes me kind of nauseous a little bit to think that you're going to take a guy from Duke.
They say he has the best NBA body right now. Like,
I hate that.
Isn't that the
Yeah.
other? That's
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
one we missed.
He's
That's
got
one
an NBA body.
He's got an NBA ready body.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a traditional big man.
Yeah.
That's another thing they're saying. It's like, shoot me now,
Yeah.
please.
He's a back to the basket 5. Like,
Gosh.
so there is no place for him in today's basketball, is what you're saying. A ball
So-
stopper.
For me, I've been talking to my brother-in-law, and I keep saying I'm ready to just trade anyone other than Markkanen to take Doncic.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic won the EuroLeague MVP. He won a bunch of trophies with his club team.
He's 18 or 19. He's been playing professionally for 3 years.
Yes, and he has like transcendent talents. He sees the floor like Steve Nash.
And he shoots
And
well.
he's
Yeah.
a good shooter,
Yeah.
but he's also confident, and he can score, and he does the little things on the court, and he just projects to be somebody who will be a star. And so for me, you trade anyone and everyone. If the Memphis Grizzlies want to trade back, you give them every single player they want on your roster. You give them whatever they want. You send down cash. It doesn't make a difference to me what you trade. But I think that for a team like my team, which is like not good enough to have one of the top 3 picks, or rather not bad enough to have one of the top 3 picks, but not good enough to ever be close to an NBA championship, you should just swing for the fences.
You mentioned the Grizzlies there. They're historically, if you go back the last 10 years, they are the worst team in the NBA draft. No team over the last 10 years. I'm just going to name first-round picks here, folks, okay?
Don't even go back that far. No one's ever heard of any of these people.
Okay. I mean, Hashim Thabit is the one that people will know. He went 2nd overall in 2009. 2009 was a pretty damn good draft. That's when you had all those point guards from Brandon Jennings, Drew Holiday, Stephen Curry, Tyreek Evans, and guys like Johnny Flynn, unfortunately, too. This was like the 2nd overall pick, and they went with Thabit. Huge mistake.
But look at from 2006, 2007, 2008, they took Kyle Lowry,
Yep.
Mike Conley, and Kevin Love. How did that work out for them?
Well, they traded. Lowry didn't last long. Kevin Love was traded to Minnesota on draft night. Conley's been very good for them, so I'll give them that. And then, they've been supported by a few other things like the Randolph signing and the Paul Gasol trade, but still, it's never turned into anything more than maybe one or two second-round playoff bids.
They are, they're continuously an NBA purgatory team, a team that is not going to win the championship. Scrappy.
02 and 03, you have Matt Barnes and Kendrick Perkins, just a couple of really nice gentlemen.
Angry fellows.
Angry people.
Yeah, so for me, you mortgage your crappy future to get the chance at a player, even if he's a white European guy, which, scares a lot of people off because there's not necessarily a good track record. I say you take a chance on Doncic because he's playing in a professional league already and is an MVP. So that would be what I would want my team to do. Whether they're able to do that or not, I am skeptical. It seems to me as though Boston is likely to make a run at whoever they want, and they will get whoever they want. But there's going to be a lot of player movement this year because LeBron James is a free agent.
Exciting stuff, always.
I believe Paul George is a free agent.
Also exciting. You'd imagine that because he has a player option, but
He will decline it.
He's
not going back to
But
OKC.
you know what would suck as a member of the front office is that, I mean, that does affect the way you draft a little bit because if PG's out for this year, I mean, it's a different story. I do want to talk a little bit about the Spurs situation with an angry Spurs fan. We're going to bring in Andre Martinez to the show.
Oh, my gosh, he's a Spurs fan.
Yes, big Spurs fan. So we've got Andre Martinez on the phone. Andre, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How about you, man?
You're not doing excellent. Kawhi Leonard is not on your team anymore.
Well, he's still on the team, unless I just woke up not too long ago. Unless I missed a big trade here, which I probably should have checked before I called. But
no, he hasn't been traded. But he doesn't want to play in San Antonio.
No, he doesn't, and that's apparently very clear now. But yeah, that is cause for concern. But knowing my Spurs, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna be smart with this situation. They're not gonna rush to any silly decisions, and they're gonna take their time, do their due diligence, and get what's best for him. Assuming they trade him this offseason. I'm not 100% sure he's not going to be on the Spurs roster at the start of next season.
So they do have leverage, and they can hold on to him and basically call his bluff and say, you know, if you want to be on another team, come play for us for a while. And in all likelihood, that will increase his value. Maybe the best case scenario for the Spurs is to play hardball and then trade him at the deadline. Would you agree?
Exactly. They have a long time. They have from now to the deadline. The absolute worst thing they could do is trade him right now and trade him to the Lakers. I know that's his preferred destination, but that's not what the Spurs. They don't want to help at a Western Conference team, especially if that trading him is going to possibly land them Paul George or Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. Their best bet is to wait it out and let the Lakers spend some of their cash, because the Lakers, they do want Kawhi, but they're not going to sit and wait. They're not going to let guys like Paul George and LeBron James just pass them by before taking just to wait for Kawhi. You know.
What do you think about the rumor that Boston is interested in Kawhi Leonard and is tossing around the idea of giving a couple future first-round picks and maybe Jaylen Brown in return for? Obviously, they're going to try to, give as little as possible, but the Spurs can ask for Jaylen Brown and some first-round picks, and it's rumored that is something that Boston would be willing to do. So how would you feel as a Spurs fan if you got in return 2 first-round picks and a budding Kawhi-like guard?
I wouldn't mind that. Personally, I'd take less picks for Jason Tatum, but I know the odds of the Celtics trading him are a lot lower than they are of trading Brown.
I think 0%, but
yeah, I think so too. But as a Spurs fan, that's my pipe dream. But Jaylen Brown's a really good pickup, and a couple first-round picks I don't mind. If they're going to trade him before tonight, I'd like them to get into the top 5. If not, I don't want them to trade him now. But I like Jaylen Brown. I like him a lot. I mean, he's not Jason Tatum. He's not Kawhi Leonard. But Kawhi Leonard wasn't Kawhi Leonard when he was in his second year. So if any team can develop Jaylen Brown to his potential, other than the Celtics, it is the Spurs.
Okay, so since the Celtics are in the East and they likely have the most amount of assets that you could get as a Spurs fan, is that the team that you're looking at as the best possible destination in terms of a return for the Spurs?
Unless the Knicks are going to be foolish enough to give us, I don't do anything with the team, to give the Spurs Kristaps for Kawhi, then yes, I think the Celtics are. Celtics are the team with the most assets, the most amount of young players that they could part with, at least one of them, to try and make it work. And then I think after the 1st of July, teams can trade without, I could be wrong, I should look this up before I call, but teams can trade without having to match salaries, whereas right now salaries have to match. So come July 1st, Jaylen Brown and picks is, a really good option. But like we were talking about earlier, I think I'd like to force his hand, make him either play or decide to sit out, preferably to play to up his value and to help the Spurs win some games.
I think,
but I don't.
If you could get Kristaps, that would be. I think that Porzingis would be like the pipe dream of all pipe dreams. I don't think that the Knicks are stupid enough to do that. But Pop has worked his magic before. Buford and Pop are pretty persuasive. They'll probably send a few crates of fine wine. Who knows? Tony Parker's wife. I mean, they can give whatever to the Knicks in exchange for Kristaps.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Phil Jackson is no longer running the Knicks, so the odds of them making a stupid trade are not as high as they were. But if any team can make him give up Kristaps for a 1-year rental, it's the Spurs. But the real X factor here is Kawhi, because if the reports are true and he does tell teams he's only signing with the Lakers after next season, then it does lower his value drastically, because teams are going to not want to pay as much for a 1-year rental, obviously. It's just a frustrating, as a Spurs fan, it's a very frustrating situation.
I think one thing that the Spurs should be doing constantly is reminding Kawhi Leonard of what happened when the Nuggets traded Carmelo Anthony to the Knicks. And the Knicks had a young, promising team with Danilo Gallinari and Wilson Chandler and, I don't know, a host of other young players. And they had to send all of those players in exchange for Carmelo.
Raymond Felton was having his best year at that time.
Sure, and so the team that Carmelo wanted to go to, I mean, obviously it was mostly because it was MSG and the Knicks, but they were young and exciting, and he thought, I'll go play with them and we'll be a championship contender. But they sent back all their best assets. And if Kawhi wants to go to the Lakers will have to send back Brandon Ingram, maybe Lonzo Ball, future first-round picks, Kuzma. And then he's going to a team that is absolute hot garbage. Maybe the worst team in the league without those three players. So,
but then how much better does that team get if LeBron and Paul George decide to join him? Then all those assets and those young players don't matter too much, because you got 3 incredible wings there to lock down the paint, or the perimeter, excuse me.
I mean, I see that argument, and Kawhi could think that, but are LeBron, Paul George, and Kawhi, the 3 of them, and then several guys you've never heard of, going to beat the Warriors? Are they going to beat the Rockets? Maybe they can, but I'm not even sure that they would beat either one of those teams, let alone the Celtics, who are going to come out of the East, whose roster looks right now like it's Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Al Horford starting, and then you just have a whole host of scrappy guys on the bench. I mean, to me, that team is as good a finals team as it's as good as the Rockets, and maybe like 1B to the Warriors. So for me, I think it's like Kawhi wants to just go to LA, and if he doesn't care about winning, then that's fine. But if he cares about winning, then I don't know, seek other options, I would say.
There has to be an agenda of some kind, though, because he's saying he wants to go to the Lakers. He's not saying, I'll go to the Clippers too. I mean, he will, but his preferred destination is the Lakers. So there's something brewing with, I don't know if there's any tampering involved with Magic, because he's had issues with that before, if I remember correctly. He got fined or something. So I don't know. It's such a weird situation. It's a very frustrating thing for a Spurs fan, especially since I've lived it for like a whole year, questioning, is this legit? Is there issues? And now to have these reports now, it's been a long couple weeks. I'll tell you that much.
Well, get ready for a long couple decades.
Yeah,
the end is near.
We shall see. I don't give up on my Spurs that easy. I think they're going to find a way to get enough assets to still be in contention for the next few years. But we'll see. It's an interesting time, a rare time for Spurs fans.
Maybe you guys could tank and draft Tim Duncan, and then then add him to David Robinson. That would work.
There you go. That's always a good recipe for a couple championships.
4, I believe.
5.
5? No way.
Yeah.
Spurs won 5 as a team, but Robinson only won 2 before he retired.
One of them was a half championship, 98 against the Knicks. The strike shortened season. That wasn't even a real championship.
Hey, it was real to me. So that's.
They should have given him half a trophy.
It's still real to me. Damn it. Well, Andre, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it and getting some angry Spurs fan opinion on the show.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I won't be angry for too much longer, but we'll wait and see how this plays out.
All right. Best of luck. Thank you so much, Andre.
Thanks, Andre.
Thank you.
That is Andre Martinez, of course, from Schmozcast fame, right here on 103.5 The Sun, WLSP, LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. 724. We're talking NBA basketball, Sun Prairie. We know it's your favorite topic.
No one cares.
No one cares. This is why we do it, right?
I know.
This is why we start off
First
with this.
thing.
Don't worry, guys. The music is coming, and it's going to be a good day for music. We got some fun things coming up. We're going to try and figure out our 5 favorite guitarists, which is a lot harder than we thought. We've had a few weeks to do this, but man, I've got 2 guys in there, and then the rest of the 3 spots, I'm really trying to piece it together, but we'll get there. We're still talking a little NBA here. I want to let's talk about the Bucks situation.
Oh, do we have to?
I want to know what you think as a Bulls fan, someone who is rooting against the Bucks in some ways.
Yeah.
What don't you want to see the Bucks do since you're rooting against them?
Well, I will say that I don't like the Celtics. I just have I dislike the Celtics, and I don't really. Yeah. So I have an interest in the Bucks being better than the Celtics. So for me, I would like to see the Bucks draft a meaningful player who could replace Eric Bledsoe's minutes. Somebody who can, I don't know. They just need a lot of. I think what the Bucks really need is coaching. They need to be better coached. They need to be more cohesive. They need to close out on corner threes and not just give up wide open 3-pointers over and over and over again to the Celtics.
Sure.
And I think that would make a huge difference. And you also need to develop Giannis, and he needs to be he needs to have the mentality like Michael Jordan used to have, where he's like, oh, I'm the best player on the court, so I'm just going to continually go to the hoop and score every single time.
Yeah, well, I think he does have the killer mentality. I think it is there. I don't know if he knows how to harness it yet, but an issue with the coaching staff last year is they wouldn't put him in good positions to where he could score with ease. It was him scoring through 2 or 3 guys and getting to the bucket, kind of going through the toughest way possible, as opposed to setting him up in a way, coming, backside screens and baseline cuts and posting up, that he actually has the chance to get the ball closer to the basket, and instead of having to go through all that work and teams playing so far off of him, he needs to start taking more 3-pointers. Even if he sucks at it, you have to draw the defense out, and then that'll make his life so much easier too as his shots start to fall. You talked about adding a point guard who can take over for Bledsoe. Even if the Bucks got rid of their pick tonight and got rid of Bledsoe or Henson's contract, or did something like that, or traded down, I don't care. I think all those things would be great. They could trade down with a few different teams who have late first-round picks and early second round. You mentioned a point guard to take over for Bledsoe. Kyrie Thornton would be somebody he's like 6'3", 6'4", really good defender, has like a 6'10" wingspan. And he's someone that could potentially be around in that area. There's a lot of guys who are really, we're using a lot of the cliches that we started the show with, but who are like the most athletic players but just don't have the great like NBA LeBron bodies. There's a few guys who could go in that range. They don't necessarily need a 3-and-D guy, but they could, because
the Bucks are nothing but 3-and-D guys.
That's the thing. You have Snell and Sterling Brown, I think, are both solid players coming off the bench. You've already got
Middleton is like the richest
3-and-D guy. Yeah. So really, to me, center and point guard are where the Bucks need the most help.
But do you need a center?
Not necessarily, but if you have a power forward who can guard some centers, and that makes Giannis's life easier, you can change things up a little bit. But they don't have. Obviously, Thon Maker needs to play a ton more. I hope they get rid of Henson, or Henson maybe has a great year under the new coaching staff, but he still makes way too much money.
I think the Bucks could use another 3-point shooter. Like the less players there are in the lane obstructing Giannis's ability to drive to the hole, the better.
Yeah.
The more options there are to kick it out. Somebody who can shoot 40% from 3. Somebody who takes Jason Terry and Eric Bledsoe's minutes. That's what the Bucks should be looking for. And as a Bulls fan, I don't care, because my team sucks so hard. They're like, their lips are like curled behind their teeth. They're sucking so hard. They're breaking blood vessels in their eyes. So I don't care. My team is not going to be any good for any period of time in the near future. So for me, I hope that you guys draft somebody who's good enough to make the East competitive with the Celtics, who I view as a budding dynasty, given the fact that they have the assets to. They could get Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard, or they could entice LeBron to come. I mean, they have
Some of the first-round picks they still have over the next couple of years.
Memphis,
Yeah.
Sacramento.
It's-
I mean, it's disgusting, and it's all because, the groundwork was laid by Danny Ainge trading KG and
Paul Pierce. Jason Terry, I think, was in that deal as well.
Yeah, and Brooklyn was like, "We'll give you everything. We'll give you everything for the future because we're about to win a championship." Turns out that didn't happen. Turns out they were old and they were no good anymore.
Jason Kidd, head coach of that team.
Jason Kidd, head coach of that team. That's right. And now, who knows what he's
unemployed.
Unemployed.
Hall of Famer though. The LeBron sweepstakes. What's your prediction? I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to tell me where he's going to go, and I'm going to say mine at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Lakers.
Cleveland.
Oh,
I'm saying he's going to stay, and you're saying he's going to go to the Lakers.
I think that he'll go to the Lakers. I think he should go to Houston for like the mid-level exception, and they should try to get off Ryan Anderson and just figure out a way to have LeBron and James Harden and CP3.
Ryan Anderson likely makes a ton of money.
Like 20-something million a year.
But I do think him playing with LeBron, that he could be somewhat of an asset. But,
yeah.
I mean, you could say that about any player. But Ryan Anderson as it stands now is drastically overpaid. When people decided they needed, 6'10" shooters, they're like, oh, okay, all right, here's one.
I don't know if that he will go to the Lakers, but I do think that he dragged that Cleveland team kicking and screaming to the finals. I mean, they were trying everything to not win. J.R. Smith ran the other way with the ball when it was tied instead of putting up a layup to win an NBA championship game because he was just like, I don't want to win.
Coaching staff too could have. I mean, call a damn timeout.
Well, I don't know what it's like to play with LeBron. I would imagine that it's both great and infuriating because he's sort of like, he's got a giant ego and he's so great at basketball that it's sort of justified, and it's probably just sometimes just terrible to have to deal with like the subtweets and the passive aggressive stuff that LeBron does. So I think that they were just like, oh man, why do we have to be in the finals again? Why can't we just be a 27-win team? And so I think they collectively got together a meeting without LeBron and said, let's just not be good enough. We'll get him out of here. I don't know. I can't imagine that he wants to go back to Cleveland because Cleveland, the roster without LeBron is pretty much hot garbage. And so,
but it's younger hot garbage than it was back in February.
It's still hot garbage.
It is, but at the same time, I would not rule out with the teams that are looking to potentially tank, and that the Cavs, I think, can still make this a possibility. And I think he's going to stay. There's reports coming out of Cleveland that if they can get Kemba Walker, that he would be even more likely to stay. I know that's not going to change a ton, but that's
Kemba's good.
Kemba is very good.
He's a good player.
How old do you think he is? I was actually surprised.
No, 28.
He's 26, 27, which I was actually very surprised. I thought it just seemed like he's been in the league forever now, but he's only been 6 years or so. So if they get Kemba Walker and maybe do something with Love, that is a huge improvement. Plus, you look at some of these teams that are like the 28 to 42 win teams that you talked about earlier. They're out there and they know it, and they have things that teams want. There's also a good potential class of free agents. Cleveland will have some money, especially if they can make a couple of moves. The Kevin Love deal would be the big one, and Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith would be the biggest contracts that would need some maneuvering. You also have the 8th pick tonight. That is something. So I think there's still a strong possibility that LeBron stays in Cleveland.
They're going to do something tonight. Whether they're going to do something that's like unorthodox, that's going to tip the hand a little bit to how they feel about LeBron, and so that'll be kind of exciting. I think that if I was a team that was nowhere near a championship but was too good to tank, I would be trading my best players to Cleveland for future first-round picks because I think even if LeBron does stay this year, he's not staying forever. And Cleveland will, in very short order, be one of the worst teams in the league. And so if you could get like a future, like the 2020 first-round pick from Cleveland, it could be the second pick, a top 5 pick. So if I was, I can't think of a team right now, but somebody who's not that good, I would even like
Bradley Beal.
I would trade
Lillard.
Dame Lillard for the 2020 pick, and whatever else, and I would just bank on the fact that like Lillard will leave and LeBron will leave, and it will be an NBA wasteland, and I will potentially have the first overall pick.
Right.
So.
It's so. This is one of my favorite times of the year, though, because of all the fun and excitement and things like when we start playing music. It'll happen sometime soon, folks. I promise.
3 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah. There's just so much excitement. But I mean, during the next song, we could look on Twitter, and there could already be some huge news going down. And
Adrian Wojnarowski reports.
Woj bomb.
Nikola Mirotic is coming back to Chicago.
Yeah, see, and DeMarcus Cousins is a free agent. Here's the thing:
that's right.
The Cavs could potentially end up with DeMarcus Cousins and Kemba Walker to go with LeBron and spare parts, but that's always going to be the case when you have a team with 3 superstars and close to max contracts. It's going to be a team with 3 superstars and a bunch of spare parts. That's just how it is with the hard cap, unless you're going to go away into the luxury tax. But anything could happen, man.
Dan Gilbert could always take out a Quicken loan, pay for that luxury tax. All right, so let's get to music. Guitar players. You like guitar.
I do like guitar.
What is it that you like about the guitar?
Man, it's just the best. So many sounds and effects and notes and arpeggios and pentatonic scales and sweep picking and finger picking and something licking.
So you could play it acoustically.
Yes.
You can play it electrically. You can play it with a bow. You can play it while your fingers are tapping on the fretboard and fingering chords all at the same time. There's a lot of really great guitar players, and there's a lot of eras of guitar. And it's kind of like comparing NBA basketball, which is like people will be like, George Mikan was the greatest NBA player of all time. He could really back it down, drop step, put it in the hole, put it in the peach basket. But obviously he's the precursor to like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, who were the precursor to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then, you have these successive eras where everyone builds upon the previous era, and guitar is no different. And so you could easily go, my favorite guitar player of all time is Robert Johnson. The way that he played that acoustic guitar with all those blues licks was really the greatest. But then there was the electric guitar came along, and then successive guitar players built upon previous guitar players. But obviously, with any guitar list, there's one undisputed king of guitar that everyone is like, well, the one guy, he's the Michael Jordan of guitar.
He's the hardest guy to keep off your list.
Yeah.
He's the hardest man to keep off your list for the greatest guitar player of all time.
Yeah, and it's partly because he was proficient, partly because he was
innovative,
and
maybe the most influential.
Very influential, and also he was a stage presence, like a sight to behold. He light things on fire and play with his mouth, play behind his head, and then he died young. So he was like the real recipe for creating a legend, especially prior to YouTube, prior to the internet. So
that's right, and this is one of your favorite Jimi Hendrix songs.
It is. I prefer there's an Olympic Studios demo that he was, I believe it's on a BBC album. But yeah, I mean the album version of this song is great. And he just is an iconic guitar player. And of course we're talking about
Mr. Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Paul Simon.
Oh.
No. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix. He's fantastic. And obviously, if you check the Google machine and say greatest guitar player of all time, he's going to come up first.
Yeah.
And if you read any music publication, he's going to come up first. Unless they're trying to be iconoclastic and they're going to say the greatest guitar player of all time was Eric Clapton. and then you can take that publication and you can burn it for being insane.
You and I are both not on the Eric Clapton train, but
No.
we can get to that a little bit
Slow
later.
hand.
Gosh, I'm having a hard time finding your...
That's fine. Just play the album version. This is Little Wing. This is Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix. We've all heard it.
Well, she's walking through the clouds with a circus mind that's running wild. Butterflies and zebras and moonbeams and fairy tales. That's all she ever thinks about. Riding with the wind. When I'm sad, she comes to me with 1,000 smiles. She gives to me free. It's alright, she said, it's alright. Take anything you want from me.
That was Jimi Hendrix. Turns out he was good at the guitar, and he made both Anthony and I's top 5 lists. Now, again, when we do top 5 lists, upon my insistence, this is not about who is, in actuality, the greatest of all time in some sort of objective way, but rather it's just our favorite guitar players ever. And so you can argue about it all you want, get red in the face and disagree with us, which is fine because it's our opinion. And we have opinions just like we have assholes. Can I say that on the radio?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't hit it. It's fine. I'm watching Anthony right now try to spell the word Zeppelin. If you know how to spell Zeppelin, give us a call. 608-825-0930 because he can't figure it out. It's not even close. It's not even close, Anthony. There's no R.
I didn't have. Yeah, it didn't have an R in there.
Another guy who made both of our lists is named Jimmy Page. He, of course, he was a studio musician and then became the lead guitar player for a band called Led Zeppelin. And there's like an untold number of great Led Zeppelin tracks featuring his handiwork. Obviously, Stairway to Heaven is known as being potentially one of the best guitar solos of all time. But I like some of the earlier stuff off of Led Zeppelin 1 where he's playing like old Irish acoustic things. I think it really shows his range as a guitar player. He's obviously known for playing blues-inspired rock guitar. But let's just try something. Maybe we'll play 2 in a row.
We definitely will, because I like to get some of this more mellow stuff that you're talking about, but I also want to get him just tearing it up.
All right, so first we have Black Mountainside. This is Jimmy Page. Whoa.
Whoa.
What an ending.
Holy cow.
That was Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin fame.
And Jimmy Page is on both of our lists. Is that correct?
He's awesome.
He's
I mean,
awesome.
he really is.
It's like undeniable. He's the person. So, okay, Jimi Hendrix likely is maybe, or most people would say he's probably a better guitar player. I think there is still a conversation to be had about that. But Jimmy Page, obviously,
I prefer him.
Yes, me as well. And he also had the advantage of a longer catalog. He is still with us to this day.
He had a better band,
Which
obviously helps.
Oh, of course. But so I just think it's the amount of songs of Led Zeppelin that you can, oh my God, and they released, 8 to 10 albums? I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Jimi Hendrix had 3 in a 4-year span, all very good, but the Led Zeppelin catalog, man, that's like undeniable to me.
Mwah. Primo.
So there you go. Jimmy Page makes both of our lists as our 5 favorite guitarists. Coming up next, I've got Tom Morello on mine. Tom Morello, probably going back to middle school, has especially for a long time, he was my go-to for guitar, my favorite guitar player. No one else does what Tom Morello can do. It's not your classic solos or things that you would, kind of equate to being a good guitar player. He uses sounds that somehow come out of a guitar and effects and using all these things and loops and all sorts of things that make it sound like a DJ scratching or, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So I'm going to play a song called Bomb Track. This is by the band Rage Against the Machine. And so we're talking about our favorite guitar players. Tom Morello certainly is in my top 5. One of my favorites, if not my favorite all time. And it's not, I want you to listen to just the sounds. Everything you hear is guitar, bass, and drums. This is not no crazy, additions that or mixers or
no synthesizers,
samples or synthesizers, all these things. This is all guitar, bass, and drums. This is Bomb Track by Rage Against the Machine.
Hey yo, it's just another gonna burn, burn, burn. Yes, you're gonna burn. Hey, yo, it's just another bomb track. Yeah. Check it out. Burn, burn, yes, you're gonna burn. Burn, burn, yes, you're gonna burn. You're gonna burn, burn, yes, you're gonna burn. 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 Burn. Feel the funk blast. Feel the funk blast. Feel the funk blast. Yo, check it out, yo. I'll be walking cold like a dog, my evidence fearless. One more returns to world like I went home from Paris. Like steel from the furnace, I was born landless. This is the native song, born of survivors' scars. Struggle the cities and the cities remain. Same bodies, very hungry, but with different last names. Their vultures robbing everything, leave nothing but change. Pick a point on the globe, there's some pictures the same. There's a bank, there's a church, a myth and a hearse, a mall and a loan, a child that it birth. There's a window, pink parrot, a rebel to tame, a white-hooded judge, a syringe in a vein. And a rhyme be the rhyme of the unheard. What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? We'll come like a bomb. Come like a bomb.
Oh man, this makes you want to burn something down.
Calmly.
Calmly,
Like a bomb.
In today, calm like a Woj bomb.
Ooh. Don't go back to it. Nobody
Okay,
cares.
Sorry, no more basketball.
Nobody cares about basketball.
Woj
So that was Tom Morello doing all sorts of weird things with his guitar.
It's just wild, man. You know it's him right away because no one else quite does it like him. One of the most unique guitar players that we've really ever had. So Tom Morello is certainly in my top 5. He was one guy that I was able to write in right away. That we did. I put my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, Tom Morello. I know he's in there.
I like him too. I like his rhythm guitar playing is really great. Rage and all the bands he's really ever been a part of have always had really catchy rhythm guitar parts. Very simple but very distinctive and
there's something
and
to hold
catchy.
on there.
Yeah.
And he also. So their drummer Brad Wilk is not super talented, and the bassist is solid.
How dare you?
But they together are really just a great rhythm section. And man, those three, Morello, Wilk, and Comerford, that's just a great trio. And I love Zach De La Roca there in Rage Against the Machine. I loved some of the stuff that Audio Slave did. We played some of that last week when Jameson was on the show. Matthew, you were gone last week because you were in the Dakotas. How was it?
Oh, they're great. I love the Dakotas. Well, really, I don't care about the North Dakota.
I've never been.
You've never been?
I've never been.
Big mistake. You should go.
Huge mistake.
You should go. It's really, it's quite the marvel. You'll see a lot of wildlife, which is fun. But you can, in a 10-minute drive, you'll be in a treeless plain, and then you'll be in like a pine forest amongst granite peaks. And so there's a lot of diversity of landscape. And then there's just a lot of cool hiking trails, regional oddities, as I was saying yesterday, and stuff to do for kids and adults.
Home of Snake River Canyon.
What?
The Great Salt Lake.
No, not even.
Okay.
Try another one. Yosemite? No.
Little Chute.
Little Bighorn?
Little Bighorn.
No.
Fort Knox, South Dakota.
None of these things.
Fort Knox, South Dakota.
None of these things.
Okay.
But it does have Mount Rushmore.
Ooh.
You've heard of that?
Yeah. Do you have a personal Mount Rushmore? We're sort of doing our Mount Rushmore
We're doing
guitarists.
that's what we're doing right
Yeah.
now, yeah.
But
My personal Mount Rushmore
yeah.
of just like people that I know.
No, your 4 favorite presidents.
Oh.
Big Andrew Jackson guy, aren't you?
I love the Trail of Tears. Yeah. That was one of my my
Terrible.
historical highlights for sure. No, I don't. I'm all about the message, not the man.
Okay.
Like I don't give a about.
Holy cow, we're getting it close.
Oh, jeez.
So we're
Hit that
talking about
button.
guitarists here.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
you're going off the map for this next one.
I'm going way off the map. So, as any listener of the show knows, and anyone who knows me, I like strange music. I like weird indie rock. My college roommates, the first time I went and dropped out, were really into dork rock. We coined it, which was guys who are maybe a little whiny, maybe beta males who play rock music.
Is Weezer along those lines?
Yeah,
I would say?
Weezer would be like if there was a big collection of
think
dork
they're-
rock guys
they're the-
hanging out.
They're the Beatles of nerd rock.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
the alpha males of the nerd rock. Like they would be the ones
Does that
getting the girls.
exist?
Yeah. Like they would be getting the girls who are
Which
wearing
is
the
funny
cardigans.
because
Yeah.
Weezer's lead singer Rivers Cuomo was not just a sex addict, but has the song "Tired for Sex."
I did not know.
Yes.
I was unaware of his addiction. Poor guy. But this band has gone through several iterations, and in the early 2000s, I really enjoyed how they could be both rocky and super soft and dorky at the same time. And I always felt like Doug Marsh, the creative genius and guitar player behind the band Built to Spill, was he always just wrote great little hooks that, if they were done by Tom Morello, would be the same notes, but they would just be a lot harder. Like he might turn his amp up louder. I don't know exactly what it is, but Doug Marsh made my list because I always find myself being like, wow, this is really great. And it's not often that I listen to them, but when I do, I'm always like, oh, that's right. He's really great. And so I'm going to play a couple short tracks from Built to Spill's Ancient Melodies of the Future 2001 album.
Do it, Doug!
Sure.
Yes,
Shout out to all the dorks, all the nerds. Indeed. That was Doug Marsh and Built to Spill. Anthony just farted. It is 8:15, 8:14
Just
and
about.
41 seconds.
Yep. Just
You're
to
listening
be
to
exact.
103.5, The Sun Prairie's Community Radio, 103.5, WLSPLP.
Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
It's always weird when you whisper.
It is weird.
I don't like it.
It's weird to you when I whisper, or
Yeah,
just like
to
in
everyone.
general?
Yeah. Everyone gets a little like their skin crawls. You know, your shoulders sort of rise up to like, I don't prepare for a creepy hand touching your shoulder.
Coming up next, we've got the Minutemen. This is going to be D Boone. One of my favorite guitar players, D Boone, man. He is insane. So there's certain genres when you listen to that they don't play enough, maybe a wide variety enough of music, or that type of style doesn't lend itself to being an amazing technical guitarist. Like, I love reggae. There's not going to be reggae guitarists on my list. A lot of it is just the same. I think a reggae bass player does more than a guitar player typically. Punk rock is another one that it's just hard. I think there are really good punk rock guitarists, but they're not, for the most part, not too many of them are stepping out of their box. A lot of credit to the guys from NoFX. They're El Jefe and Eric Melvin, I believe his name is, are two very good guitarists who do a lot of different things. I give them credit. But punk rock and reggae, two of my favorites. It's hard to find great guitarists from those types of music. The Minutemen are considered a punk band. I'm not sure what they actually are. You'd have to decide for yourself. But for me, D Boone, also in the 27 Club, similar to Jimi Hendrix, who he kind of started off the music playing with. Unfortunately died at 27 at the young age, and doesn't get quite the notoriety, maybe because of being a punk band, and never really hit it big while he was alive, D Boone from the Minutemen. But one of my absolute favorite guitarists. We're going to play, because they're such short songs, we're going to play a gaggle, a little medley of songs here. This is the Minutemen, and someone who makes my list, D Boone.
Sometimes people, I think I've seen movies to run off the edges. Subset of history, I lose my identity, stop bumming at parties. Prop up your tents with one piece of rope, fog curtain inside of me. Purging reform, but admit that you fail. Stop bumming at parties. Chasing the reasons, refusing to reason by listening to reasons. Chasing a reason, refusing to reason by listening to reasons. Son of a martyr, you're son of a father. You can look inside you, you can look inside me. Come on, shut. Deep inside. Put it together, or you pull it apart. You lapse conscious. You don't remember. You don't remember. You don't remember.
obstacle to joy, one reason to use some drug. Slept in a dish, slept in trash. American trash, ain't much could ruin a good time. That's makes a ball for Americans who won, I said, the election. He laughed and fell like a gringo. They put us on, they had some fun with us. Why can't you be time while the soldiers in the street? Why spend the fourth in someone else's country?
There you go. That was D. Boone from the Minutemen. It was 3 or 4 songs you heard there. Life is a Rehearsal, Search, Tension, and then, of course, I Felt Like a Gringo was the last song that was live off of the Minutemen DVD, We Jam Econo. You guys can check that out on YouTube, too, if you want to hear the full story behind the Minutemen and see a lot of crazy live performances. D. Boone playing crazy, like, dental drill guitar while taking his guitar, running through the mosh pit, because they toured with punk bands and they didn't sound like a punk band. Fans would spit on them and hate them and pull their mic cords and trying to do everything to get this band off stage. But then by the end of the show, you could see that all these fans who, were spitting on them and pulling their cords and stuff earlier in the set had really turned around and all of a sudden were, jumping along and dancing just like everyone else. So they really, people hated them when they first came on stage, but man, by the time they left, you were like, what just happened? That was amazing. So pretty cool story. Check out We Jam Econo. It is on YouTube and lots of good, fun concerts from them. They're also the band that does the Jackass theme song, if you're familiar with that. That song is known as Corona.
What just happened?
Yeah, exactly. Great. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for being there.
That was amazing.
Woo! Matthew's face is actually half melted, so he really enjoyed the Minutemen.
I'm going to fully melt it.
Fully. Oh, man.
I'm ready.
Dave Mustaine.
See, for me, I'm not a metal guy.
I know you're not.
I'm not big into metal.
Yeah.
I think that guitar playing in the 80s.
Plastics.
I think it has a lot of utility as a
Yeah.
as a substance.
Foundation.
Yeah, for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Knives. I like knives.
Yep.
I like cars made of steel or different alloys. I guess I don't know for sure.
Cooking utensils.
Cooking utensils are great. Stainless steel cooking utensils are especially great.
Boom. Adamantium.
But as far as the musical style known as metal,
Yeah.
I mostly find it to be jarring, and it's the rock equivalent to me of Cardi B, which is just white hot trash most of the time. To all you Cardi B fans out there, turn off your radio. We could talk about that someday, but not right now. But so for me, like, I'm not into metal, but I do have a particular affinity for a man named Buckethead, because I feel like he is technically one of the more compelling guitarists I've ever seen. Very proficient, and he also has a softer side. And if you go on to, he's released like 100 albums or more. It's something unbelievable. He's just continually putting out music, and so I'm gonna put a couple Buckethead tracks on, and we'll just listen to the master of guitar known as Buckethead. What's his real name? I don't know.
Who is he?
He wears a mask and a chicken bucket on his head.
You think at some point he'd switch from KFC to something good like Popeyes?
Do you think he's concerned about the optics
yes.
there? Like,
Yeah.
oh man, people are gonna They're going to look at me and they're going to think of Colonel Sanders, and they're going to be wondering if I'm a white supremacist, an
Yeah.
old plantation owner. You know,
As opposed to, come try my twisted chicken.
yeah. Well, he certainly can't do Chick-fil-A, you know, because that's
One of the they're not open on Sundays. They don't like gay people.
yeah. you can't do that.
When I was in New Orleans, like some of the people I was staying with who, like, haven't immersed themselves enough in Louisiana culture. I'm not sure, but it was like when I'd ask for what are some restaurants around here? They're like, yeah, we have Popeyes. It's Louisiana's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Louisiana Kitchen.
Good for them. Some Crystal hot sauce.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so this is Buckethead. That's Buckethead. He wears a bucket on his head all the time.
Crazy person.
How does he shower? Who knows?
He's apparently really into horror movies. Are you familiar with some of his background, or
I think that
you want to
one
keep
of the
him
more
as mythical as possible?
Yeah, and I think he's carefully constructed his persona to be anonymous, which is really cool. You know, in the celebrity fixated culture that we live in, people try to maximize their exposure. You know, like, here's what I had for lunch. Look where I went yesterday. I'm really great. As evidenced by magazine racks in supermarkets telling us, like, what's happening with Brad Pitt's colonoscopy and, oh my gosh, what happened to Angelina Jolie's breasts? They're gone. You know, all that kind of stuff that really doesn't matter.
Her boobs disappeared?
She had a mastectomy.
You think she felt lighter afterwards?
Probably. You remove a bunch of flesh from your body, I'm sure. But I think that what Buckethead has done, just produce music and be anonymous, is really quite genius. And it sort of speaks to his character.
Do you think it's possible that he's like a 70-year-old dude, or like, maybe he was the guitarist in Men Without Hats in the 80s or something?
Sure.
Just something crazy that
Yeah.
we would have no idea that, wait, what? That's the guy from Toto? Or,
Yeah.
like just something wild like that.
That would be a fun reveal. It's
I
likely
hope
that
that's the case.
he's just like some guy. But
Yeah.
Either way, I think that that's great. I think that he wants to make music, and he probably doesn't want to be bothered by fans unless he wants to be bothered by fans. And so when he's out in public, he puts on a bucket head.
It really is a wild thing. I give him a lot of credit for it's very much his own thing too, because really, who else has been masked and unknown for this long?
I don't know, probably some wrestler.
Good job,
Yeah.
job, luchadors.
Schmozcast,
especially, yeah.
Wednesday nights,
Yep,
8 o'clock.
That's right. Check
right
us
here on
out.
1.5.
Yep, you can also do at the Schmozcast on. We have a YouTube page. You want to check out last night's show? It's going to be up in just under an hour. We got Instagram. We got Twitter. On Facebook, all that good stuff. And speaking of Instagram and social media, on this show we also have a little IG account.
We do. It's Uncaged the Frony. Because you're uncaged.
That's right. It's
here.
very dangerous. Very
is
dangerous around the station.
You're roaming the halls.
Yep, the
nipping at
library as
ankles.
well. You need to just everyone back off. I'm uncaged. I'm unfiltered.
For sure.
I'm ready to rage.
Against people and machines.
That's right. So, we're talking about our 5 favorite guitarists. I got 3 of my 5 for sure. I think we nailed those down. I knew Tom Morello and D. Boone were going to be there. You and I have decided both of us can't go without putting Jimmy Page on our list. And there's someone I've been listening to more recently. It's a band that I've liked for quite a while, but man, the more I listen to them, and I've been getting into them again lately, it's hard to keep this guy off the list, man. I'm not sure if he makes it or not. Maybe this song will help me decide. But Omar Rodriguez Lopez from the Mars Volta, also at the Drive-In. He also has 40 of his own solo albums over a 10 to 15 year span, which is just crazy. I mean, he'll put out like 3 or 4 of these, just him playing in his basement. It's like he's basically always recording, and he's good enough where it can always be released. I mean, it really is wild. This is probably their most radio-friendly, popular song. They're a band that can make you feel uneasy, which sometimes I like. I think sometimes that almost like the jitters and unrestfulness can. It's something different that you don't get from a lot of musics without still sounding really good. And Omar Rodriguez Lopez is the real deal, man. The song is called "The Widow," and the trumpet player is someone that you might recognize, and I'm gonna let you guys hear it, and then maybe guess who the trumpet player is. The hint is he is a very famous bass player, but I'll leave that with you now and give you the Mars Volta. This is The Widow right here on 103.5 The Sun.
He's got fast in black lungs, made of clove splintered shards. They're the kind that will talk through a wheezing of cars. And I hear him every night, in every pore, in every open source. He knows that the taste is such to die for. And I hear him every night on every street. The scales that do sliver deliver me from ways without an answer, free from all the shame. Then I'll hide, 'cause I'll never sleep alone. Said I'm bloodshot for sure. Pay around the doors. Then I'll hide, 'cause I'll never sleep alone. Ways without an answer, free from all the shame. Let me die, 'cause I'll never sleep
There you go, a little Mars Volta. That song is "The Widow" from 2004, 2005. You were gonna guess this correctly. That trumpet
was.
player you heard was,
Flea.
and Flea also appears on the Minutemen documentary I was talking about earlier. So there you go, Mars Volta. That's Omar Rodriguez Lopez at the Drive-In. Mars Volta. I think it's funny because they were in At the Drive-In in the late '90s, early 2000s. Basically, 2 or 3 of the guys left, the singer and of course Omar, and made Mars Volta, and then now they're back in At the Drive-In, who I think was touring last summer and I believe this summer again together.
Go check them out.
Go check
I
them
saw
out.
the Mars Volta in 2003 or 4, opening up for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were so awesome. They rocked so hard that the Chili Peppers sucked by comparison, and I've never liked them as much since.
I was always wondering if that was the turning point with you.
Yeah. I saw them live, and they were so lackluster. And just prior to that, Mars Volta had just melted everyone's face.
Because they're so Mars Volta is just wild and talented, and also they're just like on stage, like it's like
A lot of energy.
you are, and like almost to an uncomfortable point where you're
Yeah.
like, I mean, you get goosebumps and jittery, and you're just like, I mean, it's different than any other experience I would imagine, because they're just all over the place, like you said.
I've never seen Tool, and I've heard people say this about Tool, I suppose, but they were like a hard rock band that also was beautiful at the same time.
And I have seen Tool live. You're not going to get the energy the way that Mars Volta will give you, but I do see what you're saying there.
Right.
It really was a special thing. I mean, it was the main stage at Summerfest, so it wasn't quite the same as, you know, like I had not
venue
like an
wasn't-
assigned seat,
yeah.
but you can't move around quite the same way that you would if Tool was on tour, not doing that type of venue. But it still was a very, very special experience. I want to say it was 10 years ago this 4th of July that I saw Tool, 2007 or 2008, either one. They were playing 4th of July at Summerfest and on the main stage, and holy cow, they really were something special. And Tool's guitarist Adam Jones, man, he's another guy. It's like I could very easily put him on my list, right? Like he's either there or he's right there, you know.
Honorable mention, Adam Jones.
It's such a tough thing. Oh, I forgot that you can't. Tool's music is not everywhere, is it?
It is not everywhere. That's right. You gotta search for it. They
Yeah.
have they just like Taylor Swift are they make it hard.
That's right.
You came in this morning with my top 5 list written out, which
I
was
did.
hilarious.
Yeah.
You're like, these are your top 5. I said thanks.
And here's what I had. I had Buckethead, number 1. Well, this is not in any order, but I had Buckethead. I had Jimi Hendrix. Then I went with guitarist from Pearl Jam 1, guitarist from Pearl Jam 2, and then I put somebody from Radiohead. And I should have known Jimmy Page was going to be on there, but
Right.
still, I did my best.
But somebody from Radiohead was a real good guess because I feel like for a band that has 3 guitar players, they have created some of the more compelling late 90s, early 2000s music that revolves around this instrument. And for me, they sort of lack a blues influence, which is often like a prerequisite to being on the list for greatest guitar players. Most guys are going to like, you know,
Successfully ripped off blues songs, making
Yes.
making old blues classics into
Whatever.
classic rock legendary songs.
yeah. And I have a confession to make, which is I dislike the blues. Like everyone's
I'm
like,
so
I
with
love
you,
the
dude.
blues,
No,
the
no,
blues.
the blues, dude. I hate to be
I
that.
went-
I'm actually with you on this.
Yeah, but I went to a blues fest and I was like, my ears are
Snooze
bleeding.
fest is what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. My ears are bleeding. It's just like the same 3 chord, stress the minor third, whatever. It's just like I couldn't take it, and I still to this day I'm just not into it.
Right. And but you love jazz though. Like you can get down.
Well,
with
I can
some
get down with
jazz.
some jazz. I mean, but like to me, I either like something or I don't. Like I have a visceral reaction to it. And then there's other things that I can appreciate the musicianship to and not particularly care for. And I feel like blues falls into that category where there's oftentimes really great blues musicians who are up on stage being phenomenal, and I don't ever want to listen to them. I just don't want to hear that style, those notes played in that order.
It
with that
bores
rhythm.
me, and I'm glad we're getting this out there. It's funny though because someone could say a lot of the same
Many
things about
people-
reggae, right?
Yeah, many
Like,
people do. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's boring, it's the same thing, and for whatever reason, like that pattern that a classic reggae song is in, it just appeals to me and my ears, and it makes my heart and ears and brain happy. Blues can really bore me, but some of the remakes, like Led Zeppelin, air quotes, ripping off
Muddy
Jack
Waters.
Johnson, Muddy Waters, all
Willie
this
Dixon.
stuff. You know what? He made those songs better. And a lot of people wouldn't know who Jack Johnson was if it wasn't for Jimmy
Robert
Page
Johnson.
and Robert Johnson. My
See?
bad. Jack
Exactly.
Johnson. Yeah, because nobody cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's boring. It's they're talented, but I just don't like. There's a reason we don't play much blues on here, but we do play R&B, but there's a lot more like soul singing with the blue. Like I don't know. There's like Paul McCartney.
Who are
I
you?
am just
You're a
babbling
wreck.
right now.
Yeah.
Oh Darling, like that could be a blues
Sure.
song, but I like that just thumping bass. I love that. You know what I mean? Like I can get behind that, but a lot of that has to do with Paul McCartney's voice and not just the song. Like it's really all the things come together, but just your standard old blues, it bothered me. And trying to play guitar in middle school and having to like everyone's, oh, you got to learn the blues first. Like, man, put me to sleep already. Like let's learn something fun.
Sure. I the reason that like Buddy Guy and B.B. King and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan are not on our list is because of that fact that it's not for me. And so this is my list. I can do with what I want. I can do with it what I want.
That's right.
And so I'm going to
my
put
list, my choice. Billy English.
That's right. So I am going to put the guitar players from Radiohead on because in some ways they don't have a blues influence, which I think is pretty unique amongst rockers. And they do a lot of the same stuff that Morello does in the sense that they're trying to figure out ways to make crazy sounds with their guitars. They use EBOs and effects and a bunch of pedals and phasers and various things that make noises that are not typically coming out of guitars. And they also have like musical chops enough to create rich rich compositions with like 3 guitar players doing 3 different things, which is hard to do because it's really easy, like if you're jamming with somebody, to be like, let's all play this chord progression and somebody's going to play a guitar solo. And very rarely does that happen in a Radiohead song. So I'm going to play one of their tracks that has, there's guitar parts that are in 2 different time signatures at the same time, and it creates this polyrhythm that's really crazy. And I could play Paranoid Android, which has like a ripping guitar solo, but I'm not going to. So this is Letdown by Radiohead.
Stop.
Well, that was Let Down. Not a letdown, but the track Let Down by Radiohead. And
Don't let me down.
it's a different one.
Oh.
But I hope this show wasn't a letdown for all the guitar fans out there.
And blues lovers.
Whatever. They can go cry about it in a 1-4-5 chord progression.
Oh, man. Okay, well, man,
Anthony
it was
doesn't
fun
like
today.
me. Boom, boom, boom.
My baby left me.
Boom, 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 boom.
Said I'm pretty lame.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
It's a
Cue harmonica.
Yeah. I don't know what that was. Well, this was fun putting our list together. We talked some NBA. We talked our favorite guitar players. We crapped on the blues. We had Andre Literal Martinez from the Schmozcast on the show talking about being an angry Spurs fan. Man, check us out again on Instagram, Uncage the Frony. And maybe give us your idea of what you'd like to see us do for a show, maybe even as soon as next week.
We have been pitched the idea of having a pop culture correspondent, which for me is like the least exciting thing. But for you,
God,
I feel like you love pop culture.
I love pop culture. I also...
You might have a pop culture show.
I do. 8 p.m. right here on 103.5 The Sun, WLSP LP Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Jeff Robbins, Jameson Rabbit, and myself host Pop Culture Time Capsule. And you can find those shows on demand. Last week we did 1967. That was a fun one. Monterey Pop Festival, Green Bay Packers, Pringles made their debut in 1967, Sgt. Pepper's, all sorts of fun stuff. So check that out. We've also done 1982, 1978, 1994. This week we're jumping into the new millennium. We got 2001 coming up this Sunday at 8 p.m. So definitely check that out. And you can find us at Pop Culture Time Capsule on Twitter and I believe Facebook as well. And we got a fun new logo too. Big thanks to a buddy of Jameson Rabbit's for putting that together.
Bushmills Marmot.
Jesus.
That's his new name for me.
All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Maybe we'll finish our guitar list one of these days, but man, it's just too tough. I know what we can both agree though, that this final guitarist of the day is amazing. He's Adam Jones. This is Tool, 46
also
and 2.
known as Pac-Man.
That's right, Pac-Man Jones. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch us next week. Enjoy a little Tool. And coming up next, we have Play Anything with Caprice. And be careful.
She'll do just that.
We're just getting a little blues in here. Oh, there's that harmonica. Oh, sneak it in. Sneak it in. Holy breakfast sandwich.